Alright, so I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. My camera was full, so it just shut off. But this is some Sagittarius shit. The fact that I'm so fucking late with this video, and then I'm having technical difficulties that makes me even later. This is some Sagittarius shit. I feel like the sign of Sagittarius just wanted more spotlight. So now I have to make two videos. But I'm almost done. So I'm just gonna I think I like this angle better. I'm just gonna go over that last little bit of Sagittarius, just the last archetype. That last archetype of Sagittarius, the Demi-God. Basically, this is the narcissistic side of Sagittarius. Sagittarius, more often than not, we have big egos. I think I said that before. But some of us, of course, we have a big ego, but it's not inflated to the point where we're narcissistic. But it can be. And this is the type that exemplifies that. They can kind of act like gods in the flesh. And if they're the spiritual type, which Sagittarius is more often than not very spiritual, they'll feel like their words and thoughts and beliefs are directly from God. They're directly from the ultimate authority of the universe, or the ultimate righteousness of the universe. So they can be very bad villains because of that, because the worst kind of villain is the villain that thinks they're righteous and correct and doing God's work. Sagittarius, I do want to point out that Sagittarius is the sign of religion. And if you just look at the history of religion throughout the entire world, is one of war and bloodshed and conquest. And like I said, Sagittarius is the sign of victory. And I mean victory in military pursuits, as well as victory in entertainment field, sports, just in general. Like I said, remember that archer is the one of the symbols of Sagittarius. And the archer, once it figure out what it wants to hit, once it sees that bullseye, is gonna hit it. You know what I mean? Sagittarius is a sign that's very, very hard to stop. I also want to point out something I noticed with the demigod side type of Sagittarius, and just Sagittarius in general. Sorry, I'm looking down at my phone to get these names correctly. But a few good examples of this type is Joseph Stalin, but also Lucky Luciano and Pablo Escobar. Those are the two names that I'm forgetting. So Scorpio deals more so with the criminal underworld than any other signs. However, Virgo deals with the underworld too. But however, I have noticed that there are a lot of Sagittarians that start from the bottom in the drug game and then quickly become like the kingpin. And a lot of times it's because, like I said, this sign can be very intimidating. Just think about when Zeus loses his temper. Just think about any religion and think about that top god, because this is what Sagittarius represents. It represents the highest form of God. It represents the paternal authority figure God. So even if you look at, say for example, Greco-Roman spirituality, there's many gods, but there's Zeus who's in charge, and you don't want to piss off Zeus. As if you look up the myths, anytime someone challenges Zeus, they lose. Even Hera slash Juno, when she held a coup and was almost successful, she still lost against him. He came back and and I think I mentioned that in the other part, how he came back and he took back the throne. So this is what this energy represents. So it's just a sign that can be unfuckwittable, and that could be a good thing or a bad thing. Yeah, that can be, of course, a good thing or a bad thing. So this type is also, like I said, narcissistic, insensitive, hot-tempered. They're very indulgent too. Sagittarius can be a very indulgent sign overall, but this type of Sagittarius represents the luxuries of Mount Olympus. It represents abundance. So, as undeserving as the demigod often is, a lot of times they're blessed beyond their wildest imaginations. Especially if they started off poor. A lot of times, they'll always, even if they start off poor, a lot of times the demigod just knows they're going to be wealthy. Just think of Jay-Z. Jay-Z, if you go back to the beginning of Jay-Z's career, Jay-Z always knew that he was Jay-Z, he was Jay-Z the billionaire. When he had $5 in his pocket, he was Jay-Z the billionaire. And that's that Sagittarius mindset. Even I can look back on myself as a kid, I just had like this abundance mindset. Like there will always be more. So for example, if I didn't want to finish my food, I would just throw it away. I would get my ass in trouble, but I would just throw it away because I'm just like, I don't want it. It's not up to my standard. I'm going to have more and I'm going to have better. It's just that mentality, and it can breed a very entitled person. It can turn into a sense of entitlement. But at the same time, if you do it the right way, it could bring abundance, because in order to manifest abundance, you first have to know that you can manifest abundance. You first have to have that optimism, that you can do something that great. If you feel like you can't accomplish something that great, you probably aren't, because you're not going to have the motivation to even try. And Sagittarius is that sign that from the jump, they're like, yeah, I'm going to be a billionaire. Yeah, I'm going to be the hottest rapper. Yeah, I'm going to be the biggest star. Yeah, I'm going to be the biggest warlord. Yeah, I'm going to be the biggest thug of their thugs. Whatever that thing is, that the demigod represents that sort of alphaness. And I hate that fucking word because it's so fucking corny now. But that's what it represents, is being the top, being the alpha. Now, Sagittarius isn't the only sign that represents this, but it does help to have some Sag energy in you if you want to conquer the world, if you want to break some sort of limitation, be it a limitation others have put on you or you have put on yourself. Which, if you're a Sagittarian, you probably haven't put that much, the many limits on yourself anyway. Now, Sagittarius is a very positive sign, jovial even. However, the demigod, if they can be the angry type. If they feel like, and when I say angry type, I mean past them just exploding on people for doing whatever they deem as immoral or wrong or whatever. I mean staying in that energy. Sagittarius is rarely the type of person to stay in the energy of anger. But this type can, if they feel like the world around them doesn't represent their royal regal nature. And I can kind of attest to being this kind of sad too. When I was younger, I didn't know I was poor because I grew up kind of poor. I don't want to say poor, but just because we were very blessed. And I'm a Sag moon. My mother will always say we were very blessed, and that's very Sag moon mother. She's gonna remind you that, so if she's the religious type, she's gonna remind you that God is taking care of you, and you don't have a reason to be upset or bitchy or ungrateful. With that being said, though, once I grew up and I realized that, you know, I couldn't have the car I wanted because we couldn't afford it, or I can have the nice king size bed I wanted because we couldn't afford it, and things like that. When I realized that I didn't have access to these luxuries that I felt like I deserved and I was entitled to, I did become like kind of angry and kind of just like negative. And is a very small section of Sagittarians that are like this. Even Sagittarians who tend to be thugs. Like think about DMX. DMX is well, he's passed on now, rest in peace. But DMX, from the outside looking in, of course, he was a very fiery person. He was a very hot tempered person. He was a very combative person. But DMX, at least to me, he didn't seem angry all the time. And I know he had that aggressive way of speaking, but that's because I'm a Sag person too. That doesn't ring to me as anger. That's just like he's aggressive. Because Sag people in general can be just aggressive people. But it's kind of like him. Like he's hot tempered. He'll pop off, but he didn't seem like he stayed in that energy. And maybe I should use a better example. Monique's a better example. A comedian, and Sagittarians can be comedians. She never really showed anger really until she got like blackballed or something like that. And there was this one video that is fucking hilarious, and it's of Monique going off. And she's going off, and she's like, "When I see you, I'm gonna beat your motherfucking ass." And it's just, it's just hilarious to me because like I can kind of see myself in it because I usually shock people when I get angry, and that's like, I know I'm talking about myself again, but just like, I told you this is Sag energy. It's just, at least you're getting a good example of what Sag energy is. Like, or like another Sag that's really good to pay attention to, and I know I mentioned her in the first video, Nicki Minaj. Just the way Nicki Minaj is when she's on live and how she's kind of like primping her hair, and she's kind of like, she sits up and she's like in the camera and she's talking and she's moving her head and she's backing up and she's talking shit and she's laughing. That's the Demi-God version of Sag. Like that's in a positive form, because I know I just made this type of Sag seem like it's all negative. It's not always negative, but when a certain expression is very negative, I want to speak about that first, just because I kind of see it as a warning sign. I'm warning you. If you meet a Sag and they're loud and well, not if they're loud, they're always fucking loud. But if you meet a Sag and they're very dogmatic and they're very angry, it's like, okay, you might be dealing with this type, so you might want to leave them the fuck alone if you can. So I kind of look at it as kind of like a warning. But this Demi-God can be more positive, and that's Nicki Minaj. That's Nicki Minaj when she's doing her Nicki Minaj isms, and just like that hyperactive energy. Sag is the sign that wants to move. Sag is fire. Fire is movement. Fire is action. And Sagittarius is a huge explosion. So it's this huge explosion of fire and energy. And it's just like, you want me to sit down? You want me to not brag about myself when I know I'm a fucking supernova? Like, you're getting what Sag is? So that's what Sag is. And just like, I'm going to reflect back to Nicki a little bit. Like, Nicki was on, I think the Jimmy Kimmel show. And then just like, I was just enamored by her. Because just like, even just the little bodily movement she did, they were just like, I think she like wiggled her hands like this or something like that. It was lovable. It was just very, very, and that's other things going on in her chart making her like that. But that's this type of Sag as well. It can just be lovable. They can just be, they're demigods. You know what I mean? They're demigods. Who doesn't love Hercules? You know what I mean? Who doesn't love a demigod? Like, who doesn't love a god that you can relate to? Everyone wants that. Everyone across any culture wants a certain heavenly divine figure that they can relate to. The demigod, this is the do you know who my father is person. You know, Chet and Holden, the rich lacrosse players who are fucking 16 years old, but they drive Cadillacs and they have everything handed to them. This is Sagittarius. Even if Sagittarius didn't grow up in a fancy area, a lot of times the Sagittarians, their families will have money somehow. Not all, because like I said, it can Sagittarius can be a rags to riches story as well. But this Demi-God type, that do you know who my father is? That's them all fucking day. I cannot stand meeting a Sag who comes from a wealthy family, because they're gonna let you know that they came from a wealthy family, and they're gonna let you know that in their opinion they're above you, because Sag is very blunt, Sag is straightforward, Sag doesn't bite his tongue. So if you're dealing with a Sag from a family who has money, be prepared to hear how much they have money. If they're of the Demi-God type, because, you know, just because they're wealthy doesn't mean they're assholes and snooty and whatnot. But with Sag, I feel like they're a lot of times rich Sages do lean into that energy. Like I said, it's that connection to Zeus. It's that connection to this higher authority, this higher divine law. If they're connected to that, they're gonna feel like they're more righteous than you in some kind of way. So self-righteousness. And it's an energy that I find conflicting myself, because on one hand, humility is always needed because you're a human being, and by being a human being, you're automatically flawed and you're automatically ignorant to a certain degree. However, if you have a certain position, you need to know you have that position. Like, for example, I wouldn't want a military leader who was not confident, who wasn't even a little cocky, because if you're not feeling like you're the shit, I'm not gonna feel like I'm the shit following you if I have to follow you. And if I'm the leader, you're not gonna feel like you're the shit following me if I am uncertain, if I am unconfident, if I'm not, no, we're gonna do this and we're gonna get this done in a timely manner and it's gonna be spectacular because we're the fucking shit. If I don't have that energy, you're not gonna want to follow me. So it's an energy that takes balancing, and I'm going off a tangent a little bit. I am in the future gonna make videos per every sign and just explaining what I think each sign is trying to teach the world, and how to get the best out of each sign's energy, because we all have Sag energy, we all have Aries energy, we all have Taurus energy, in various degrees. You may be a person who has a shit ton of Capricorn energy, and Sag is like your least dominant sign. Well, it's still doing something in your chart. Let's say Sag is ruling over your second house and there's nothing in it, so it's not important. However, your second house is your values. Your second house is, to a certain extent, how you make money. So you need money, right? Like, so it's my own little pet peeve with the astrology world. Both astrologers and followers of astrology, we tend to look at sun, moon, and rising sign, and we say, hey, this is who you are. And one can argue that the sun, moon, and rising sign are the most important points and placements in your chart, but that's like saying you're your brain, your heart, and your lungs. Those are the most important body parts, or some of the most important body parts of you. But if you don't have skin, if you don't have a skeleton, if you don't have blood, if you don't have all these different connective tissues, nervous tissues, something's missing. So I love that we break down astrology like that just to get a good gist of a person, but I also hate it because I'm like, you're missing so much. If you look at a person and you meet them and you say you're a Scorpio rising, Libra moon, Sagittarius sun, you've gathered a good amount of information, but you're missing so much, especially if those placements are the only thing they have in those signs. So they have everything else in other signs, and you're looking at them, trying to psychoanalyze them by looking at three things. By looking at their heart, their brain, and their lungs, you're trying to diagnose a skin issue. That's what you're doing. You're trying to diagnose a skin issue, looking at their heart, their lungs, and their brain. And I'm sure there's connections to that, but you're not even looking at the skin. Look at the skin, bro. It's right in front of your face. So that's how I feel about that. And I know I'm going off of a tangent, but you know what? I'm going to save my own ass by saying, you know what, this is Sag energy again. Because Sag is the philosopher of the zodiac. So, Sag people, we can do this all day. We can philosophize all fucking day. All fucking day. The only type of Sag you can't really philosophize with is the Sag that knows it all. And the Sag that says, this is the right way, and no other way is the right way. That type of Sag, you're going to have a hard time philosophizing with. And honestly, I wouldn't even want to have too many conversations with that type of Sag, because it's just like, you know everything. I ain't got nothing to talk about with you. You know everything? I ain't got shit to say to you. I'm going to let you know everything and fuck up your life thinking you know everything. And I should really stop talking now, because I'm letting my mean side show. And y'all supposed to think I'm good and kind and smart and beautiful. And I am those things. Sag, moon, bragging again, but y'all don't have to see my mean side yet. Y'all can't see that side yet. That's hidden. That's secret. That's how I get people. They think I'm nice and I'm soft, and then I do some shit to them behind closed doors, and then they don't know what happened to them. And I'm like, yeah, I did that, but you think I'm soft and weak, so fuck you, bitch. No. Okay, I'm getting off of this now. I hope you enjoyed this 2-part video on Sagittarius. I hope you enjoyed me rambling about myself. And let me know in the comments, do you have a Sag moon? Do you have a Sag sun? Do you have a Sag rising? Maybe you have nothing in Sag. Maybe you have everything in Sag. Maybe you love Sagittarius. Maybe you can't fucking stand Sagittarius. Let me know what you think of Sag in the comments. Until next time, I'm glad you enjoyed this video, and I'm out.